So the announcement came out yesterday what the Sylph Arena League Cup is going to be for May, and it's going to be the Nightmare Cup. So starting May 1st, those that participate in the Sylph Arena, which is a competitive mode for Pokemon Go PvP. More details on sylph.gg if you don't know anything about what I'm talking about right now. But assuming that you're in here, you probably know what I'm talking about. So yeah, Nightmare Cup. So it's going to revolve around 3 types instead of 4. We got Psychic, Dark, and Fighting type Pokemon. So the obvious trifecta is, you know, the Fighting beats the Dark beats the Psychic, and the Psychic beats the Fighting. So pretty straightforward. And you got tricky Pokemon like Lucario, right? Because it's a, you know, Fighting Steel type, so it, you know, resists the Psychic, so it's like neutral from the Psychic. And then it also has Shadow Ball, so it can kind of like bite the Psychic types back a little bit. But at the same time, because it's Steel type, now it's more vulnerable to its Fighting type brethren. So it's like there's some risks, there's some rewards there. And another tricky Pokemon, which is the focus of today's video, is Spiritomb, a Dark Ghost Pokemon. So with the Ghost typing, it resists Fighting type, because Ghost has a double resistance to Fighting, but Dark type has a weakness to Fighting, so then it's just like a single, you know, a single resistance. But it's resistance nonetheless. And because it's still a Dark type, it still has the double resistance to the Psychic. And then because it's a Dark type, it's only neutral from the Dark type that are punching into it. Yeah, because Ghost weak, Dark resists, so neutral effective. So Spiritomb looking like a pretty tanky little snack there. Just to clarify again, I'm not breaking down the whole meta tonight. Definitely have not spent that much time with it. Mostly focusing on Spiritomb, because when I got like the initial report on this cup, first thing that came to mind was Spiritomb and Ominous Wind, and how not a whole lot stands between Spiritomb and just spamming Ominous Wind. And Ominous Wind has a 10% chance to give you the attack and defense buff. So it gives you 2 stages, right? So if you're not familiar, a 2-stage buff and attack basically takes neutral effective matchups and effectively makes your damage like super effective damage. If they were resisting your damage, now they're taking a neutral hit to it, more or less. And then with the defense buff, if you're receiving neutral damage from an attacker, which is going to be all the damage that Spiritomb is going to be taking here, well, now it is resisted. And if you're already resisting a hit, well, now you're double resisting it. So it's pretty good if you get it, but only a 10% chance, right? But because the buff is so powerful, and because Spiritomb's already looking really good, I was calling it the Roulette Cup. So let's bring in our contestants today on the wheel of Ominous Wind. We got Shiftry, we got Skunk Tank, we got Alolan Raichu, we got Umbreon here, we got Lucario, of course, we got Alolan Muck, and we got Machamp. Yeah, the OG fighting machine here. Now, I do want to clarify that these aren't the only Pokemon that can work against Spiritomb, and I didn't pick them because they work against Spiritomb. I just picked them to get like a sample of Pokemon that would be good in this meta. Basically, I just took a bunch of good results that I saw from PvPoke's results there. So I was like, yeah, let's see how these guys do. And then I tried not to overlap too much in what they do, you know. So it's like, yeah, like Umbreon represents the pure Dark types, and you know, Machamp represents the fighting types and stuff like that. So just kind of getting a sample idea of how stuff performs against Spiritomb. This isn't the end-all be-all for the meta, and these might not even be the best picks for the meta. It's just what I went with for this little study here on Spiritomb. But starting out, we got Shiftry here. So we're going to find out how good Shiftry does. And of course, I looked at all these guys with different shield scenarios, right? So we got no shields at all, and then no shields if Spiritomb got the Ominous Wind boost. And then we got 1 shield, and then 1 shield if Spiritomb got the boost. And then we got 2 shields, and then if, you know, 2 shields, Spiritomb got the boost, right? So we're starting out, and we got Shiftry. If there are no shields involved, well, Shiftry just wins with Razor Leaf. If you get the boost, oh dang, I guess it was just Razor Leaf, right? Yeah, actually, in all of these situations, Shiftry is just insane with Razor Leaf. Yeah, so Spiritomb, it doesn't matter if it gets the Ominous Wind Boost or not. It's going to go down really quickly because it's getting all these neutral hits in and not dealing any effective damage back to Shiftry, who's just spamming Razor Leaf. So Shiftry in the general Great Meat League kind of sucks, but I guess in the context of this meta, especially in the context of fighting Spiritomb, it's looking pretty good, yeah. Now, will this Razor Leaf spam do well against the Dark Poison types? Maybe, maybe not. Will this Razor Leaf spam work against the fighting types, which are just going to pound on this Dark type Pokemon with counter? Probably not. But in some matchups, probably many matchups, where Shiftry can work, it will work. And this is one such matchup. So, sorry Spiritomb, that's one L here. Skunk Tank, B. So Skunk Tank with the bite. So starting out, if there are no shields involved, looks like Skunk Tank's going to win with crunch damage. So bite and crunch, taking this guy out. If we involve a Ominous Wind boost, though, it becomes a tie. Yeah, so that's a bit awkward for Skunk Tank to deal with there. It's not exactly clear who would win or who would lose. It would come down to who had the charge move time advantage there. So a little bit of a toss-up. If one shield is involved, looks like Skunk Tank is winning. It only have roughly 16% of its health left, but it is still a win. Going on down, if it got the boost, oh shoot. Oh shoot. Spiritomb pulling ahead if it gets the Ominous Wind boost. 25% of its health left, so probably lasts long enough to put in some pain against the next Pokemon as well, especially since, you know, it's got the resistances now to anything that's trying to hit it because it's got the double stage on the defense. So pretty nasty there, right? If you get the boost, Skunk Tank, you thought it was a for sure victory. Dark type Pokemon resists Ghost, but not looking so good. So moving on down, if we got the double shield, looks like Skunk Tank absolutely smokes this guy. And the reason why Skunk Tank would do so well with the more shields added like that is because the bite damage builds up really quickly. In fact, with the bite damage, and I even made a note that because of the bite damage, you know, bite makes the difference. Just keeps chomping, doesn't really care about the charge moves because we're all being shielded. So, yeah. So bite Skunk Tank, pretty decent. Has to watch out for the boost there, but definitely not a comfortable fight, even though Skunk Tank should have plenty of advantages over the Spiritomb. Alright, so our next contestant is Skunk Tank again, but with Poison Jab. If you remember from the Twilight Cup, yeah, having a non-Dark type fast move helped Dark types fight other Dark types. And that might still be a factor here in the Nightmare Cup. Once again, I haven't looked at all the matchup data yet, so you'll probably want those Dark type attacks for the Psychic type Pokemon, presumably. So it all comes up, you know, one way or another. It's not 100% sure right now which fast move you generally want to roll with, but this is in context of this guy here, our Ghosty. And actually thinking about it, Ghost resists not psychic, poison. Yeah, Ghost resists poison. I always forget about that a little bit. So yeah, actually probably wouldn't be the best move against Spiritomb, but as the data will show in a moment here, yeah, it definitely is not the best move. So we got Poison Jab Boy, and no shields, Poison Jab wins. If it's, you know, same situation again, if you get the boost, it's a tie. If there is just one shield involved, well then Skunk Tank wins yet again. But if you get the boost, oh man, you're slapping them even harder. And then for results that have over 30%, I bolded them just to like highlight their significance. So it's like, oh, like you really took them out. You got like basically a third of your HP left. You're gonna hurt whatever comes up next. So yeah. And going on forward, blam. If you get the boost, ends up being a tie now. And the reason for that is Poison Jab is at a disadvantage against Spiritomb, for sure. And then if you get the boost, well now things are in Spiritomb's favor. So Skunk Tank, Poison Jab, might be a bit too risky. Skunk Tank with Bite should carry the advantage for the most part, but it definitely isn't a guaranteed win, for sure. All right, moving on to the next contestant here. We've got a Alolan Raichu. And I'm actually pretty interested in looking into some more sims for Alolan Raichu because it is a sneaky little guy in this meta. So Wild Charge, really nice charge move. Thunder Punch, really fast charge move. It's sort of like how the Spark slash Thunderbolt plus the Thunder Shock. Oh man, I'm getting these moves mixed up. Back when Thunderbolt was good, you know, it's kind of reminiscent of that, except we got Thunder Punch, which a little bit faster, especially nowadays. Yeah, Alolan Raichu looking like a snack. How's it doing against Spiritomb though, with no shields? Well, yeah, absolutely getting wrecked by Spiritomb without shields. So Spiritomb bringing the doom. Alolan Raichu is sub-psychic type. That's why he's in this meta to begin with, but definitely getting wrecked by the Spiritomb. Even if it's shiny, it'll still be weak to the Ghost Darkness, and we'll have a pretty bad time fighting against the Spooky Boy there. Now, obviously, if you get the boost, yeah, you're going to win. Like, you're going to win even harder, I guess, because now you've got the boost for the next matchup. So, yeah, sorry, Alolan Raichu, not having a fun time. One shield ends up being a tie. Yeah, because Alolan Raichu is just that quick on the draw with the charge moves, it comes down to who gets their charge move off first. So whoever gets the earlier activation will end up winning that duel, but before then, you know, could be anybody's fight there. So Alolan Raichu, not completely down and out, but if it is behind, like if you switch it in to try to counter Spiritomb, which doesn't make any sense why you'd switch in a Psychic type to try to counter a Ghost Dark type Pokemon. But yeah, that would definitely put Raichu behind. And if you get the boost, well then of course Spiritomb just destroys you completely in the worst way imaginable. So watch out. If anything, this tie matchup here though suggests that switching Spiritomb into Raichu wouldn't 100% be a good idea. But I guess if you got the boost off, then it probably would be, yeah. But that's a 10% chance, right? 10% chance. Then if there's two shields involved, well then the fast move damage just takes you over. It's using Sucker Punch over and over again, hitting you super effectively. You're hitting him with the weak Spark, you know. Spark's decent. It's not a bad move, but you're getting hit super effective. It ain't. So, bam. And then obviously if you get the boost, then it's crazy again. Then it just destroys you. And I even made a note where it was like, Sucker Punch being weak to Dark/Ghost. Oh, sucks. Yeah, sucks being weak to Dark/Ghost. So, being Psychic got you into the club, but being Psychic is what's kicking you out of the Spiritomb counter circle. So right now we've had a Dark type Pokemon that's spamming Razor Leaf. We have a Dark Poison type Pokemon being interesting with its dual ability to do things. But Umbreon is a pure Dark type Pokemon. Refined, you know? It's just darking on you. How's that guy doing? Well, obviously, with no shields involved, you know, you're hitting this guy for resistance. This guy's hitting you for neutral damage. Who's going to win? And, but the ominous weather boost kicks in. Well, now this guy's technically resisting you and technically hitting you for neutral damage. So the tides have shifted. Umbreon overall is a better Pokemon stat-wise than Spiritomb is. So it's still, you know, it's not lost in this fight if, you know, Spiritomb gets the boosts off, but it hasn't exactly won either. So once again, comes down to the charge move activation time. Yeah. Then going on with one shield, well then obviously, you know, Umbreon, once again, has the general advantage in this fight. And even with a boost, because you are shielding one of the charge moves, Umbreon is still able to kind of carry an advantage. Now, you're only winning by, you know, 9.62% of your HP left, so you're definitely brutalized in that matchup. It's not comfortable, but Umbreon still doing pretty good. Then you got the double shield. Bam. Umbreon, once again, does not care about this guy. It's just using fast move damage for the most part for the win. And then, bam, gets the boost though. Now we're back into a tie situation. So, yeah, definitely a dicey fight. Overall, Umbreon should have the advantage, but it's not comfortable, right? Because Spiritomb it could get that 10% boost off. Now things are a little bit awkward. So yeah, even the most pure dark type Pokemon of the bunch, not having the easiest time in the world against Spiritomb, a Pokemon which it should just outright beat all the time. And you can see without the boost it does, but boost comes in, bam. Alright, we got Lucario. So Lucario, kind of a monster, especially in the Kingdom Cup right now. It's like the MVP there, just slaughtering everything that's not named Blaziken. Here, it's going to have similar advantages where it's able to handle like everything in the meta kind of in one way or another between its coverage and its resistances and having power-up punch. But here, it's got one big ugly problem that it doesn't have in the Kingdom Cup, and that's competing fighting type Pokemon. Lucario, weak to fighting types, using counter, just smash this guy. So Lucario, still really good, but definitely comes with some greater risks than it does in the Kingdom Cup. At any rate, no shields. Who wins? Well, it's a tie. Yeah. Basically, in this fight, I looked at it in both ways. So if Spiritomb uses Shadow Ball and Lucario uses Shadow Ball, then it's like whoever gets the charge move off first, that's the victor. Then I looked at it in the alternative way where you're using Ominous Wind, and the progression of the fight has you using 2 Ominous Winds before the match is completed, so it's still kind of dicey. Still basically a tie. So no shields involved, Lucario tying matchup with the Spiritomb. And if you get the boost, yeah, it's still a tie. Just because the circumstances of the fight are already so close and Shadow Ball is doing so much damage that it doesn't really like make the difference in a big way if Spiritomb gets the boost or not. It just ends up like who is faster. Like if you had previous energy, you're probably going to win. If you don't have previous energy, you're probably going to lose. So that's going both ways here. Then when we got one shield in the mix, basically same situation, tie once again. And I did look at it with Spiritomb not blocking the first power-up punch, but then blocking the second one, just to, you know, keep that there. You know what I mean? Because like if you know they're going to power-up punch, then you're not going to block it kind of idea. And yeah, it still ends up being a tie. And if you get the Ominous Wind boost though, well now the tables have turned. Even if you block the first power-up punch and it was a power-up punch, so you'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't have blocked that, but if you did, you know. But you got the Ominous Wind boost, yeah, you basically carry the advantage because already you're resisting fighting. So now you're, oh man, resisting fighting like doubly. So even though Lucario is trying to inch its way back up to like, I don't know, dealing decent damage to you again, the double bonus from the Ominous Wind boost is just too much for it to keep up with. So yeah. Sorry Lucario, if Ominous Wind happens, looks like you're out of here. Then we got 2 shields going on. Bam! Lucario takes the lead. And the reason why it takes the lead is because power-up punch is just that good. Even if you don't block the first power-up punch, like Spiritomb doesn't block it and just takes it so they can block the later ones, doesn't matter because the counter damage keeps going up as well. So yeah, Lucario, definitely a storm. If it's able to continue on in the fight, you have these like shield wars going on, Lucario is definitely going to come up right. And then looking at it, even with the Ominous Weather boost, the Ominous Weather, wow, the Ominous Weather of the Ominous Wind, right? Yeah, because the ball keeps rolling with the power-up punch, it just, that's literally it. Power-up punch just keeps getting better. And we're in this matchup, Lucario is 1 shield short from surviving. Well, with 2 shields, it's not. It's it'll always have enough shields to just not get wrecked by Spiritomb. Then going on down, we got Alolan Muck. Bam. Got our Acid Spray boy here. Yeah, with the Snarl. Thinking about it retrospectively, I didn't look at it with Bite. I think Snarl's just an objectively better move than Bite. And I didn't bother going with Poison Jab again, so this is just the Snarl Alolan Muck. Yeah. And no shields involved. Bam. Alolan Muck wins. Yeah. And this is just using Snarl and Dark Pulse, not the, what's it called, Acid Spray. You really don't have much of a reason to use Acid Spray in a no-shield scenario. But I'm pretty sure that even if you used Acid Spray that didn't shield it, I'm pretty sure Alolan Muck would still probably win that fight. So yeah, but bam, we got the boost. Somebody's eking out a narrow victory. Yeah, so watch out, Alolan Muck. Ominous Wind gets the proc. Now you're feeling sorry. If we move to a one shield situation, understandably, Alolan Muck still carrying the edge. And I looked at it with Acid Spray and without Acid Spray, and at the end of the day, it's still going to be a victory for the Alolan Muck there because it's able to, use the snarl damage effectively against it. So yeah. And if there is one shield involved and an Ominous Weather boost, well then, guess who just won? Spiritomb, unless you used Acid Spray. If you used Acid Spray, then you basically take away those defenses that it just gained, more or less, and then you take the fight back. Then moving on to the double shield, Alolan Muck eking out the win, and then, with the boost, now things are getting a little bit dicey again, because even though you do strip away the two-stage buff with the Acid Spray, you don't strip away the two-stage boost in its attack. So the attacks that were resisting you are now hitting you for neutral, and the fight falls out of your favor ultimately. Alolan Muck might have to watch out a little bit against the Spiritomb here in a pretty big way. Although, I don't know, I'm not too in favor of Alolan Muck in general, to be honest. I still feel like Acid Spray is too passive of an attack to really give a Pokemon an edge in combat, like, unless it was already kind of having the edge, if that makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how Alolan Muck performs in the greater meta, because the fighting types are going to wail on it really hard. Going to have an advantage against the psychic types, maybe, because the psychic types are hitting with confusion, which you technically resist, but it hurts. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this guy does, especially with competing dark types wailing on it. Alright, moving on down, we have what may be our final matchup. The Machamp here, fighting type Supreme, right? So this is unadulterated, punching you in the face. Lucario's doing his magical, I'm powering myself up and I got Shadow Ball nonsense. But this guy, no nonsense. He's got counter, he's got Rock Slide, and he's gonna punch your creepy little ghost face, right? Well, no shields involved. Yeah, things aren't working out for Machamp there. I mean, this guy's a ghost at the end of the day, resisting your hits. You're not resisting its charge move. It's, the advantage is inherently in Spiritomb's favor. It's like the ball in its court. And if it gets the boost, well then, of course, the ball still in Spiritomb's court. Like, if Spiritomb has, like, previous damage on it, like it's heavily hurt, well then the ball might be more in Machamp's court, right? Maybe things are going to work out for Machamp here. But yeah, its muscles aren't strong enough to punch ghosts, I guess. And this is, like, the only ghost you have to worry about, so Machamp might not have too much to worry about, but yeah, Spooky Boy giving him a rough time. Going to the one shield situation though, and bam, who's having the rough time now? Yeah, because Rock Slide's so good, and because counter is so good, definitely helps it pull ahead in a matchup that, in theory, it should lose. Alright, and then if we get the boost in, oh dang, yeah, things just got wild in favor of the Spiritomb. So, watch out for the boost. And we see that same thing going on with Lucario there, where it's like Ominous Wind hits, it gets the stat boosts, and it's just too much too quickly. You definitely need that second shield to try to, like, hang on to survival there, which Lucario would definitely want to have. But how would Machamp do with two shields? Well, bam, yeah, two shields in general, a losing matchup against the Spiritomb. So the reason why Lucario doesn't lose in this situation is because it has Power Up Punch, which is what would be the same for Hitmonchan and presumably Poliwrath, right? So they're getting the Power Up Punches, they're boosting up in the fight, and so they're able to just keep wailing on it, where with Machamp is hitting with like a resisted fast move and a neutrally effective charge move, so things are kind of like falling out a little bit for it there. And then finally, Yeah, obviously. Like, if he's losing here, then obviously he's losing with a boost. I think Machamp is a decent pick for this meta, just because he's, like, strong, coming out of the gate, swinging. How effective he's going to be overall, especially when compared to power-up punch users that aren't Lucario. A little bit of a question mark right now, but I felt it'd be good to include Machamp in this scenario because it, you know, isn't relying on power-up punch. Yeah, so I'd say overall, while this sample is looking pretty harsh towards the Spiritomb, you might be looking at this and being like, Ryan, Swag, like, half the stuff here does really well against Spiritomb. Like, why would I want to use Spiritomb? Well, like, half the stuff here are, like, Dark-type Pokemon that realistically should not be losing the Spiritomb. Overall, Spiritomb's using Dark and Ghost-type damage. And these Dark types, for the most part, have other types of attacks they can use against it that are neutral, right? So they should be beating Spiritomb. But the fact that there are situations where some of them aren't definitely speaks well for Spiritomb here, especially if it gets the boost off. Then, if you think about the fighting type Pokemon, Machamp having a really ugly time. Lucario kind of tying for the most part. Like, a lot of these earlier matchups here are because of Shadow Ball, right? Double shield situation, power-up punch makes a difference, but if the power-up punch user, you know, doesn't have 2 shields to work with, well, then they might be feeling the stink here from the Spiritomb. And I mean, honestly, who's gonna say they're gonna keep Spiritomb in anyways? You switch in your pup user to try to counter Spiritomb, well, then they're probably just gonna swap in their psychic or their fighting type depending on your pup user, and then just like wail on you. So I don't know. And then psychic types, like the only psychic type to make it in this sample is Raichu, and Raichu's just getting destroyed. So, and that's with Raichu using nothing but electric type attacks. So I don't know. I don't think the other psychic types are going to have too comfortable of a time against Spiritomb here. Just saying. So, yeah, I think Spiritomb's a pretty solid option. My initial assessment being like, oh yeah, it's Roulette Cup. If you get the boost, then you just win. Might not be 100% correct, but I think there is some solid validity to it. Seeing how good Spiritomb's doing against the sample here. So I think every team, if you can work Spiritomb into your comp, would probably benefit from having a Spiritomb. It's not going to just show up and steal the entire show, but it's definitely something that is very threatening even without the Ominous Wind boost. And an Ominous Wind is the move that it wants to use for the most part in its matchups. So I think overall, definitely a Pokemon that should not be underestimated. That was a clip from my live stream SwagTips. SwagTips streams every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time on the Twitch channel SwagTips. If you got any questions on this content, comment below. Let me know what's up. And just to clarify with you guys, those aren't the best picks for this cup, and those aren't the only picks for this cup. Those are just a representative sample of picks that I chose to relate to Spiritomb. So more detailed content on the Nightmare Cup is on its way, but for now, that's what I got, right? If you enjoyed this content, you want to see more like it, well then make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. Now you're getting, you know, caught up with the Twitch police. Oh gosh. Huh.